Thank you, Chairwoman McLean, for holding this hearing. It's extremely important. I say that not only as a former athlete. I can't believe we're here, though. I can't believe we're holding a hearing today. As a matter of fact, I can't believe many things. Today, we have something called gender-affirming care in our country, which is really cutting off the body parts of people in order to make them feel like they're another gender, which is completely wrong. This is a losing issue for Democrats because America fully agrees we have to protect women.
We're supposed to sit here on this side of the dais and see a party that has voted against women's access to abortion, voted against our right, the Lilly Ledbetter Equal Pay Act, voted against the Violence Against Women Act, and I'm supposed to believe that this is who's looking out for my best interest?
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
Oh, so Republicans want us to believe they care about women now, because they held a hearing on protecting women, which, no, did not involve their right to choose, equal pay, Violence Against Women Act, their right to access contraception, or any of the countless issues. They relentlessly vote in favor of further restrictions. This hearing was on transgender athletes in school sports. So as you can imagine, their maturity really shone through.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Ms. Luna for 5 minutes.
I identify with my pronouns as states, and thus I move to strike deplorable states from the record.
Well, those are nouns, but please be more insufferable. Luckily, there were Democratic voices of sanity on hand to speak up in the face of the ad hominem profanity-based hyperbole that Margin Co. like to project as a valid argument.
Reproductive health care has been mentioned here. Even the term reproductive justice, which is really capital punishment for innocent babies. There's nothing reproductive about abortion. It's murder.
Texas Democrat Jasmine Crockett came equipped.
Watching biological men dominating real women in sports.
So let's talk about what it looks like to protect women in this country. When lawmakers like this are so far out of touch with what women need, we see states pushing back, at least states that will allow you to push back. I'm from the state of Texas, and of course, they don't want you to ever have an opportunity to raise your voice in the state of Texas. In fact, Ms. Perry, I know your organization, the Heritage Foundation, loves Texas. Ooh, they love Texas. They always sending us some nonsense bills that somehow set this country on the wrong trajectory. They send them to Texas. They send them to Florida. Every deplorable state that we can think about, they usually coming out of y'all's think tank. But nevertheless, we've seen is, say, in the state of Ohio was one of the most recent states when their lawmakers didn't have the courage to do what they needed to do because, of course, we believe
Point
in
of order.
gerrymandering. And because we believe in
Point of order.
gerrymandering in this.
Point of order.
I moved
Please
to strike
stop my
her word.
time.
I moved to strike her words. Deplorable states.
That's not a point of order. Let the gentlelady proceed.
So I'm prepared to rule this is not a statement. A deplorable state is not a statement against a person.
I wanted to highlight this speech from AOC as she decided to shine a light on the blatant hypocrisy of those on the other side who pretend to care while shelving their Velcro spine when they bend the knee to a thrice married sycophant found liable of sexual assault, and how anyone is to believe that they actually care about protecting women when everything they vote in favor of is the antithesis of that.
Decent amount of my time here in Congress sitting through panels and hearings of men attempting to restrict the rights of women and telling us that it's for our own good. But I want to dive a little bit more deeply into why this issue, targeting trans women in sports, is particularly problematic, not just for trans girls, but for all of us. We're here today because there's a proposal here, and there are several proposals here, to further marginalize trans women in sports. And I think about this all the time because trans people in the United States doesn't even exceed 1% of our population. And yet there is so many resources and energy and time dedicated to figuring out how we can more finely exclude them from our sports. And so we're supposed to sit here on this side of the dais and to ranking member Lee's point, see a party that has voted against women's access to abortion, voted against our right, the Lilly Ledbetter Equal Pay Act, voted against the Violence Against Women Act, voted against our right to have access to contraception, and also doesn't even vote for equal funding, equitable funding in women's sports. And I'm supposed to believe that this is who's looking out for my best interests? I think not. And to that, I yield back.
Is anyone surprised that this is the issue Republican lawmakers brought to the House floor to pretend they care about women in America, joining the other ever-so-present issues they brought forth in the past few months, like gas stoves and DC crime?
When are you coming to take my gas stove away? And will I get a 4-hour window, like when Comcast comes to my house or the power company? Because I just want to be home when it happens, because I have a dog and I don't want him to be let out by accident. So can we schedule that now? When are you coming? The border's been a problem for a long period of time because Congress has failed to pass comprehensive immigration reform. It's not like this is a new issue. This is something that's been going on for decades here. It's been passed from one president to the next, to the next. Is it possibly worse now? Well, that's what happens when you have a problem that you don't fix for 2 decades. The same people who talk about the border, it's not like they've come up with solutions. They complain to get on Fox News every day. But it's not like we're having solutions.
No, of course not, because they're incapable of formulating a cohesive policy position outside of culture wars, which Democrats like AOC and Summer Lee were on hand to remind the American people about.
Surprised to hear that my Republican colleagues care so much about protecting the, quote, safety, privacy, and opportunities of women, since their voting record and priorities this Congress shows the opposite. A report released last year in conjunction with the 50th anniversary of Title IX found that men's athletic programs received more than twice as many resources as women's programs in 2020, and that expenditures for recruiting and compensating head coaches and assistant coaches favored male athletes nearly 3-to-1. Yet the 2024 appropriations bill did nothing to expand access for women in sports. It did, however, contain a rider to prevent the proposed Department of Education rule relating to transgender athletes' ability to participate in sports. I don't understand what they are going through or why they feel the way they do, but I want them to live. I yield back.
Because if you strip away the outrage, they have nothing of substance to spend their time on.
I identify with my pronouns as states, and thus I move to strike deplorable states from the record.
The committee will suspend. Point of order is not timely due to intervening debate occurring after the words were said. Point of order is overruled.
Thank you. Ms. Gaines, are you familiar with the name Caitlyn Jenner?
And here's the thing, sure, if you want to have a conversation about transgender athletes, let's have it. But you can spare us the full outrage when every policy position you uphold negates the very idea that you claim to care about women. But they zone in on an issue like this because they're very aware that demonizing marginalized groups will always be a safeguard amidst their base.
And we're saying this in an environment of a post-Dobbs America where states are criminalizing access to abortion and want nothing more than data on women to figure out who's getting a menstrual cycle, who doesn't have one. And we're supposed to believe that this is going to make us better?
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.